Hey guys, tonight we descend into the marrow of something older than faith, older than skin that fits your bones just so. You'll walk where the walls breathe warm, pulsing, a little too damp in the back corner of your mind. Something starts naming your fingers in order, backwards. Don't answer, it's not a game you can win. You came here looking for the folio, didn't you? The book stitched from reverence and silence. But it wasn't a book you found first. It was the armor, so before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here, and please, drop your location and what time it is where you're listening. I always like knowing where the echoes end up. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The chamber exhales as you enter, not in welcome, in warning. The floor doesn't creak, it flexes beneath your boots. Bone shavings mixed into the stone. You kneel, rub dust between your fingers. It's not dust, it clings, it remembers. You stand fast against the far wall, the armor. Too large, too breathing, hung like a carcass, but not lifeless. No weapons near it because it never needed one. A suit of plate forged not from iron, but from something sinewed, something once kind, dozens know. Hundreds of hands grafted together, palms stitched into pauldrons, fingers splayed across the chest like lovers or captors. Each hand is a different color, a different age. One twitches. You know its name, though no one told you. The butcher's folio was never a text, it was a man. Or rather, what remained when a man ceased being himself, when everything not nailed down inside his soul ran out screaming. The armor kept what was left standing. You take a step forward. Something whispers, not yet, you freeze. The whisper came from inside your boot. The cursed lineage starts here, with Eraver the Flensed, a night priest who returned from the unholy campaign with no memories and far too many prayers written on his back in nails. The Black Psalm of Vorther mentions him, once barely legible between the burned stanzas, he who bore the hands of martyrs, but none of his own. The armor pulses again. It doesn't breathe oxygen. It breathes names, one name, over and over, yours. The eldritch mystery begins. Why do the hands know you? You've never been here. Or you think you haven't, but the armor leans slightly toward you, as if gravity favors your scent or your guilt. In the corner of the room, a small plaque, cracked slate, no translation needed. Entry is a contract, exit is a myth. You laugh nervously, which is brave, considering laughter doesn't belong here. It's unwelcome. It ricochets oddly, as if the walls tried to chew it before returning it bloated, wet, and out of sync. You reach toward the cuirass, just to brush it, just to. The fingers on the stomach clasp flinch. You fall back, hands scraping old mortar. The wall behind you shifts, displeased. Something groans deep inside the ceiling like a rope stretching slowly around a neck. A memory bubbles, but not yours, an execution. A boy in rusted chainmail, crowd chanting nothing, just breath, rhythmic, worshipful. The boy wore no helmet, because he had no face. You blink. The armor's hands now rest differently. One points at you, the pinky, broken in 3 places. Still bleeding from the cuticle. There's a sconce on the wall, unlit. You feel for a match. There is none. The room does not allow flame. Only illumination of a different kind, the kind that sings. The left gauntlet rattles. The sound is delicate, almost bashful. You lean in, and the hand claps once. Laughter again, not yours. Echoes only laugh when they remember the original sound, and this one does. You turn to leave. But the doorway is now smooth wall, seamless stone, no handle, no draft. You breathe harder. The armor does too. This is where the folio begins, you realize. Not with ink, not with verse, with ritual. With audience, with you, much like your situation now, isn't it? You move to the far side of the room, searching for inscriptions, reliefs. Anything but the only thing etched into the wall is a familiar symbol. Your family's crest burned backward. A cursed lineage. Then, you didn't come here, you were summoned. The butcher's folio chooses the next page, and it seems you're next to be bound. But not yet. No, first, it must read you. See if your memories are legible, if your bones hum the right refrain. You press your ear to the gauntlet. It hums in C minor, so does your heart. The gauntlet hums lower now, like a lullaby slowed to its deathbed. You flinch back, but the sound follows your ears, ringing with the cold echo of a song no one remembers teaching you. And yet, your lips twitch, forming the next note unbidden. The butcher's armor is watching. You know this, though its helmet remains untouched atop the rack, faceless and blank. But the hands, oh, the hands, they face you now. Not raised in threat, raised in anticipation. Like acolytes in a prayer you've yet to finish. The Black Psalm of Vorthar has a second mention of a raver, scribbled in the margins of a sacrificial hymn. He sang no litany, yet the tongues of the fallen chanted through him. You understand now. The armor is a choir pit, and you, unluckily, are a note in its arrangement. You notice the sconce again, still unlit, still wrong. You move toward it and trace the base. Beneath it, a socket, not for a torch, for something softer, warmer, something still alive. Something like a hand. One of the gauntlets twitches. The pinky again, still bleeding, and you realize it's not bleeding, it's leaking ink. Thick, black red, the kind archivists once used to write burial hymns that erased themselves by dawn. The armor hungers, not for blood, not for violence, for memory. And it can't remember without you. You back away toward the bookshelf that wasn't there before. A single folio rests on its middle shelf, bound in a cracked leather that breathes faintly. The title, burned into the cover by an unsteady brand. The hands that held the sky, the air around it pulses with static. Every book around it has been eaten from the inside, their pages replaced with folded skins. You touch the cover, and the room groans. Behind you, the armor shifts. A new hand appears, smaller, younger, pale, and familiar. Your sister's. You haven't seen her in 15 years. You remember the lake, her foot caught in the stones. Your hand is slow. Your scream lost in the reeds. You never found her body. Apparently, the folio did. The fingers twitch gently now, beckoning, not a threat. An invitation. You step away from the shelf, trying to breathe in silence. The room hates breath. It paints your exhale on the walls in frost. There are words there. Now, you blink once, twice. The words rearrange every time your heart beats. Turn the page, but you haven't opened the book yet. You look down. It's open. Of course it is. The first page is blank, except for a small, delicate sentence in an ink that smells like rot and memory. You read this before the last time you screamed. You close the book. It does not allow that. The cover sticks to your palm. When you pull away, your skin peels with it, revealing thin, pale lines beneath, almost like page creases, almost like someone folded you long ago. You turn to the armor. You need to stop looking. But it's changed again. The arms now wear gloves of velvet. Noble gloves, mourning gloves, and they point at the book slowly, together. The lights flicker except there are no lights. The flicker comes from your mind, your old attic memories, where you read stories under candlelight and forgot which ones were yours and which were just written to trap children in bedtime. A trap. Then the folio was always a trap, but for what? The whispers begin again, low and coiled, like snakes reciting treaties in a forgotten tongue. You hear one phrase clearly. The weeping statues bleat when read aloud. But only if you say the name right. What name? You search the armor again. Each hand has something written on it now, tiny runes. A language that shouldn't rhyme but does. You whisper one aloud, and the page in the book flips on its own. An image now, drawn in ash and salt. A battlefield, or no, a nursery, hard to tell. The bodies wear bibs and breastplates alike. A shadow hangs above them all, no limbs, just eyes. and a single, coiled tongue stretching from the clouds down into a cradle. The armor creaks again. A hand lifts, points at the picture, and then at you. You touch the drawing and it's warm. The ink's still wet. You pull your finger back. A name scrawled beneath appears as your blood mixes with the line work. It is not your name, but it's your voice reading it. Revicaelum Branix. The armor shakes violently. You try to run. The floor gives way. The folio swallows your foot. It feels like velvet and knives. You scream. The sound doesn't leave your throat. It stays behind your eyes. The page flips again. The ink is dry now, so is your ankle, so is the hand that touched the book. No blood, no warmth, just paper. You are becoming the next page. And the folio is only on chapter 2. The folio does not close. You try. Of course you try. Your dry, paper-bound fingers tremble as they strain against the cover, but the leather resists you not with strength, but with will. It wants to stay open, and it is stronger in its wanting than you are in your fear. You notice your breath again. It fogs the air, curling unnaturally into shapes, not clouds, but glyphs. They hang in front of you for a moment long before dissipating, ashamed of being seen. You try not to blink, but the glyphs crawl into your eyes. This is how the butcher read, they say. Not with eyes, with marrow. You look at the armor now, not directly. Just enough to see what's changed. The helmet is gone. In its place, a mirrored mask. Warped glass, aged silver. And you realize, far too late, that it's not a reflection of your face, but the version of your face you left behind. The one that wept at your brother's grave. The one that whispered back at the wrong time. You didn't mean to wake the choir that night, did you? You step backward. The floor shifts. Beneath your feet, a grate. Beneath the grate, parchment. Miles of it, twisting like worms in sleep. Pages upon pages of handwritten names scratched, not inked. Some carved with fingernails, others ... with teeth. You hear the words again. Swallow the prophet's tongue to speak the unspeakable. Who did? You kneel to the floor and press your ear to the metal grate. A soft chant rises, not in Latin, not in any known tongue, but you understand it. It is saying your name. But it's getting it wrong. Each time the voices reach the end of the chant, they change one letter. You count. The 12th version is the name you never told anyone. The one you gave yourself in that closet at age 7, when the lights flickered and the shadow behind your coat whispered secrets. You never thought it remembered. It did. You look up. The armor is seated now. A throne has formed beneath it, stitched from altar cloths and sinew. The mirrored mask reflects your eyes, but they are no longer yours. They are hungry. One hand gestures. The book turns another page. This one bears no words, only a hole, a perfectly round hole, right through the paper. You peer through it. Darkness peers back. The eye that opens beyond the hole is not yours, or the armor's. It is older. It has no lash, no lid, just a ring of ink, and within it, movement. You blink, and now the hole is bleeding. But not onto the book, onto you. The blood runs up your arms. It traces your veins like rivers drawn backwards. The ink follows, staining thought, not skin. This is how the sermon begins. You turn your head away, but the hole turns with you. You close your eyes, but the hole remains. It isn't in the book anymore. It's in you. You stumble to your feet, try to step away. Your foot lands on another folio. Where did that come from? Its cover reads, "The Songs of Misremembered Names." You kick it. It splits open, inside. A jawbone, not human. Too many teeth. Each tooth inscribed. You lean closer. Each tooth bears a verse. To speak the unspeakable is not to lie, but to remind the world it was warned. The jaw snaps shut as you read it. A scream echoes, but not from the book. From the mirror, the mask has shattered. Now it's opening, splitting sideways like a grin. Inside, a mouth of hands. Palms open, fingers writhing. You see your sisters again. She's pointing, not at you. At the ceiling, you follow her gesture. There, painted in blood so faded it's nearly invisible, are the last words of the prophet before his tongue was swallowed. You read them aloud, begin the dark omen. The folio catches fire, not flame but the crackle of prayers burned into wax. The pages do not burn away, they burn deeper. More words appear, etched beneath others, layered in a nightmare of ink. Palimpsests of agony, writings no archivist dared preserve, yet none could destroy. You cannot look away. Your eyes itch, you blink, your eyelashes stay behind on the page. The chant below the grate changes. Now it is saying the name of the thing you saw through the hole. Not yours, it's Thernix, Thernix, Thernix. The last name ever spoken by a prophet before he screamed himself silent. They cut his tongue out not to punish him, but to save him. The armor reaches toward you. Its hand now bears your ring. You don't own a ring. You did, once. You buried it with someone you swore you'd never forget. The page turns again. There is your handwriting. You did forget, but the folio did not. The folio turns itself now. You're not touching it anymore. Your hands hover just above the pages, fingers twitching like candle flames in a breeze you can't feel, but the pages still flip, slow and deliberate, as if savoring the weight of each secret. Each sheet sighs as it lifts, the sound not of parchment, but of something exhaling after long confinement. This page, this one has a stain. It is shaped like a fingerprint, but longer, narrower, almost like a claw. The print pulses once, then again. You recoil, but the page has already marked you. Ink seeps upward from the page's center, blooms across your palm in perfect mimicry of that print, and then vanishes. The room grows quieter, no, not quiet, expectant, as though even the shadows are holding their breath. You glance up. The throne is empty now. The armor is gone. In its place stands a boy. His skin is the gray of frostbitten vellum. Veined with ink, his eyes have no pupils, just script, swirling slowly. His mouth is sewn shut with pages, not thread. You recognize him. You don't know how, but you do. He was the first, not the first prophet. The first to be read. The boy tilts his head. You hear crinkling, like dry leaves or crackling spines. The mask he wears isn't a mask, it's a page, taped to his face. It peels as he moves. You see words crawling across it. One reader, one vessel, one ending. You try to speak, but your voice is trapped behind something warm and metallic on your tongue. You spit into your palm. It's not blood. It's a sigil drawn in iron, still wet, still writhing. The boy points behind you. You turn. The chapel wall is no longer stone, it's stacked folios. Hundreds, thousands, some locked with chains, others with teeth, all humming softly, breathing. A door stands in the center of them. No handle, just a hole. You already know what to do, don't you? You place your hand against it. It fits, of course it does. The wall shudders, and the door opens not outward, but inward, folding like a screen-swallowed hole. Beyond it, darkness. But not empty, no. There's music in there. A lullaby, it's familiar, the kind your mother never sang, but you remember it anyway. Close your eyes, the ink runs deep, dream the dead. But do not sleep, you step inside. The door seals behind you like a blink. This new space is round. Cathedral-like, but deeper, like being inside a ribcage. Shelves spiral from floor to ceiling. But they're not books, they're jars. Each holds a single ton. Some are shriveled, others fresh. Each labeled neatly. You search for your name. You find it third row, fourth jar from the left. It's still moving. You reach for it. Your fingers brush the glass. Your tongue burns, not with fire, with sound. A word erupts from you, ancient and cracked. Dear Doctor, you've never said that before. You know what it means. The boy appears beside you, silent, pages fluttering at his feet like moths with too many wings. He gestures to the tongue. Then to his mouth. You understand. You take the jar, you uncork it. The smell is unbearable ink, rot, and memory. You place the tongue against your own lips. It slithers in. It fits. It laughs. Your voice is not yours anymore. It is the butcher's, the boy Bo's. You nod in return because you know what comes next. The sermon. You step forward, past shelves of writhing words and whispering relics. At the far end of the chamber is an altar made of mirrors. Broken ones. None of them reflect what's in front of them. One shows you kneeling. One shows you screaming. One shows you reading from a book that does not exist yet. You kneel, you scream, you read. The blood scroll unfurls in your mind, not paper, but nerve. Words twitch across it like veins. The silence is the lie, the tongue, the truth. You speak the next line, the floor vanishes. You do not fall, you descend. You are not in the archive anymore. You are inside the folio, not metaphorically. Physically, the boy is gone. The jar is still in your hand, empty. It is always empty. You notice writing on your palm now. You hold it up to read. You are what you swallow. You try to laugh. Your mouth does not open. Only the tongue inside it shifts. It hums the lullaby again, but slower now. Like a dirge played backward, you remember your sister's voice. Only she never had one, did she? The sermon begins. The sermon is not sung, it is bled. You feel it first before any syllable slips past your lips. A vibration along the jaw, as if your teeth are tuning forks struck by a god's fingertip. Your breath thickens, condenses, and takes on form, not mist, script. Letters crawl from your mouth, ink midair, curling like centipedes shedding skin. They hang there, quivering, before dropping to the ground with a faint splatter. The floor absorbs them, it learns you. You speak without meaning to. The words are not yours. They are ancient, hungry, still warm from the throat of the last prophet. Your new tongue pulses after each phrase, as if nodding in approval or restraint. You are not alone anymore. You never were. The congregation stirs. You hadn't seen them when you entered, but now that you've spoken, they flicker into view. Dozens of silhouettes seated in pews made of stacked femurs and thorned iron. They don't clap. They twitch. Every face is covered by parchment. Every mask bears your name. One lifts its head. Its eyes are gouged out neatly, ritualistically, as if sight was no longer required. It murmurs. You swallowed it, then another answers. The sermon has begun, a third. You'll never be empty again. You want to run. But you don't remember how. The pews part. Down the center aisle comes something on all fours. Clothed in vestments that ripple like wet pages, bound with quills instead of buttons. Its face is a scribbled blur, but you feel its gaze of pressure behind your ears, like a sermon whispered backward through a crack in time. It halts before you. It offers a book. You take it. It is made from your own skin. You can tell by the scar on the spine. You open it. Every page is blank except one. Page 37, a child's drawing. Stick figures, crude. A tower with bleeding windows, a sun with too many eyes. A figure in a crown of hands. Beneath it, a single phrase in trembling, childish scrawl. The sermon makes you reel. You drop the book. It lands open, and now every page is filled. Your memories, but not yours, things you've never done. A life you never lived, but somehow lost. You flip through rapidly, heart clawing up your throat. A woman laughing, a daughter, faceless. A scream in a hallway with no doors, all written, all precise. All past tense, the congregation stands. In unison, they say, read it again. You obey, you always obey, as you read. Your voice fractures, not breaks, splits. One voice becomes two, then four, then dozens. Each mouthful of words births another echo, until your sermon is a choir. The pages respond. The air thickens, the altar of mirrors begins to melt not from heat, but from recognition. It shows your reflection again, only there are so many of you. Too many. One smiles, one weeps, One opens its mouth to reveal no tongue at all. The boy from before walks behind you. Only now he is tall and wearing your skin. He places his hand on your shoulder. It is not comforting. It is a reminder you belong to the folio now. A bell tolls in the distance, not a metallic ring. Something deeper, more organic, like a spine being rung out like a chime. The congregation vanishes, dust and reverse inhaling back into the walls, back into the books. You are alone again, except not. You feel a heartbeat, not yours, beneath your ribs, between your lungs. It's reading you, your tongue pulses. It says, one tongue, one sermon, one host. You are the host, the sermon continues. And now it's listening. The chapel breathes, not metaphorically. Not in prose or poetry, you feel the rise and fall of lungs larger than the building itself, a tidal inhalation that pulls your balance forward. Then a groaning exhale that stirs dust motes into spiraling glyphs above the altar. You are inside something living, and it's digesting you. The book in your hands has vanished, not dropped. Not taken, simply gone, replaced by weight, cold, coiled weight. You glance down, chains, dozens of them, snaking up your wrists, wrapping like ivy around your ribcage, pulsing faintly with what could only be described as expectation. Each link bears a sigil. You recognize none of them, but one glows faintly red when your gaze lingers. Its shape makes your stomach ache. Not from fear, from recognition. You've seen it before. Drawn on a ceiling with blood you don't remember losing. The congregation's absence is not absence. It is lurking. You hear them in the rafters, whispering through teeth they no longer possess. The parchment masks still sit on the pews, suspended midair, watching you without eyes. One flutters in the stillness, drifting down to your feet. You pick it up. On the inside, it reads, "Name yourself, or it will name you." The voice comes again, behind your ear. Beneath your tongue, it asks, "Who speaks now?" You try to answer, your lips move, the tongue in your mouth, the prophet's tongue quivers. And then it laughs, not with joy, with memory. You are not the first host, you are just the first to survive this far. Your name bubbles behind your teeth, but something clamps down. Not physically worse, conceptually, the name unravels. Letters dissolve, meaning flees, all that remains is a hollow where identity once roosted. The tongue speaks instead, "I am what remains when memory dies." You collapse, but do not fall. The chains hold you upright, puppeting your posture like an obedient sermon stand. The altar ahead cracks, it does not split, it opens. Stone peels back like bark, revealing the vault beneath. Not a basement, a burial ton. It licks the air, slow and wet and enormous. The vault yawns. The scent inside is not rot, it's older. It's something akin to forgotten parchment soaked in holy oil and left to curdle. You descend, one chain at a time. No stairs, just faith, and the sermon leads. A voice rises from below. Not human, not beast, but composed, practiced, it says. Every tongue must tell a truth. And then, yours will be the cruelest. The chains loosen, you fall forward, but there is no impact. The air itself catches you thick, gelatinous, pregnant with invocation. You land not on floor, but on scripture. Miles of it, stretched taut like skin, veined with ink, fluttering with every heartbeat of the underground. Here, the books are alive, not enchanted, flesh-born. You step on a page and it moans. Your next step is softer, more careful. But now the books know your weight. They adjust, they cradle. They turn their pages toward you as if baring throats. And you read, you must, because not reading is pain. Every word ignored twists the prophet's tongue in your mouth, pulling your jaw open until your eyes blur. You read words like screenkeep, Lorevane, flesh cannon, the nutter dies. None of these belong to your world. All of them belong to you. The deeper you go, the more the books lean, reaching, clutching, wanting to be read. One opens its mouth, not a metaphor. A real mouth, a row of teeth between pages. A soft wet uvula twitching at the top of chapter 3. It whispers, "Recite me, or I'll forget myself." You recite, its pages flicker, faster and faster, until the entire tome combusts into silence. Not ash, just absence, erased because you've fulfilled it. Something smiles in the dark. Not seen, heard, a quirk in gravity. A tug behind your navel, the tongue in your mouth sings. You don't know the words, but the vault listens, and the air sings back. A duet of extinction. The sermon is taking root, and the vault is opening further. The vault does not open, it stretches, like an old scar giving way beneath pressure. Every inch you descend now pulls with resistance, as if the air regrets letting you through. Behind you, the flesh-scripted books rustle in a wind that does not blow. Ahead of you, the silence sharpens, and beneath your ribs, the prophet's tongue pulses again. You don't remember swallowing it, you remember screaming. You remember the warm trickle down your throat, the bitter copper of borrowed prophecy, but not the moment of merging that was stolen from you, wrapped in velvet denial and hidden in the folds of your memory like a snake asleep in a prayer book. The stairs reform beneath your feet, carved bone this time, clean, bleached, every tread shaped like a scapula, every riser etched with scripture. As you step, the letters glow not brightly, but like mold in the dark. Familiar characters warp around the curves. You notice one set repeat. Over and over, Zarnal, the tongue flinches. Your knees nearly give, you try it aloud. Sure, the rest refuses to exit your mouth. Not blocked, denied, as if the air itself will not allow it, you glance at the wall beside you. A smear of something darker than blood is scrolled across the bone, a handprint child-sized. Fingers elongated unnaturally, as if pulled like taffy during punishment, and scratched beneath it. He still hears, speak not his name. There's comfort in the stairs, oddly. Their regularity, their seeming purpose. But at the base there it is again. The whisper that isn't a whisper, confess, confess, confess. It slithers into your skull like oil through lace. You shake your head. The stairs end in a chamber that is not a room, it is a throat. The walls are pulsing meat, stitched with book bindings and stitched faces. Not skin, just folded wrong, as if their design had been misread and rebuilt inside out. They stare, no eyes, but they stare. You hear words and the drip of moisture from the ceiling. Do you remember what you were? No, you do not. But you almost do. You step forward. The floor yields like overripe fruit, sticky, spongy, groaning in discomfort, or hunger. Each footprint leaves an impression of you behind, not just your soul, but your pulse, your intent, your hesitation. They'll know how long you stood in place. The sermon has begun, but not here. You realize this chamber is only in here. A vestibule, a listening room, and it is listening for the tongue. You try not to speak. The tongue speaks anyway. I remember the first name carved into me. You do not ask whose, because you already know, yours. The moment hangs, gelatinous. A rattle in the wall makes you pivot sharply. From behind a slit in the meat, a set of fingers emerge, bone-white, not moving. Then they do. They tap the rhythm of your heartbeat. Not what it is now, what it used to be before you entered. Before the vault, before the sermon. Tap, tap, pulse, tap, tap, tap. Like knocking on your own coffin lid, the fingers curl back, and from the slit slides out a scroll. Old, wrapped in fleshless and inked with soot, you unroll it carefully. There, stitched in black thread instead of written, verse I, tongue of the sky. Underneath, more symbols, half devoured by time and damp. The tongue writhes inside your mouth. It recognizes the pattern. You feel your teeth ache, not in pain, but in anticipation. Your jaw unhinges slightly, like something's about to speak through you. And so you read, not with voice, with thought. You let the scroll enter you not physically, but through meaning, through memory, through that stolen name you now feel creeping down your spine like candle wax. As the last symbol dissolves into understanding, the room breathes in. Every stitched face opens its mouth, and in perfect unison, they chant. The first truth returns, the walls ripple. The scroll ignites not in flame, but in revelation, lightless light. The kind you can feel behind your eyes, in that place where dreams turn to rot. A door opens behind the altar, a door with no hinges, no handle, just skin. Waiting to be parted, you do. You press your hands into the seam. It's warm, it sighs. The door peels open like old lips revealing darkness that smells like ink in morning. Something moves beyond, and it moves like you. No footsteps, just presence. Then you hear your own voice echo back, I never asked to be read. The vault laughs, and the sermon begins anew. The darkness beyond the altar isn't empty. It's stacked with silence, with dust, with layers of memory peeled and pressed like dried vellum. You step forward and the hush thickens, curling around your ankles like drowned lace. The tongue is quiet now, but not still. It listens. You recognize the place, though you've never seen it. Some corners of the soul are shaped by rumor alone. This is one of them, the vestibulary. A hall not meant for walking, meant only for waiting. But your steps fall anyway, one after another, onto a path of glistening tiles shaped like molars, some cracked, some gnawed, a few still bloody. You do not ask how recent. The teeth whisper when your solace brush them. Nothing loud, just the sigh of your name pulled through a wound. Above you, the ceiling weeps ink. Every drop lands with a splash and a syllable, as if trying to speak from the drip. You cannot translate, but the cadence is too deliberate to be random. You look closer and realize it isn't just ink. It's the tears of those who recited the sermon incorrectly. Their grief stains everything here. A table waits ahead, long and low, laid with offerings you instinctively know you must not touch. A knife carved from kneecap, a thimble still worn from a tongue's tip, a goblet filled with black honey that moves like it resents containment. One cup is overturned, beside it, a chair. The only one. You hesitate. You don't sit, of course, you simply fall into it. The chair sighs like it remembers you. Something clicks, not in your ear, inside your head. A vertebra realigning, or being replaced, the chair adjusts to your weight and begins to descend. You did not see the shaft. There was no shaft, and yet you descend. Past script-daubed walls, past sigils carved in languages that loop like thorns. You count 3 symbols from the Black Psalm of Vorthur, 1 from the Never Shrine. One that looks like your mother's lullaby when played in reverse. And then nothing, just that voice again. Not the tongues. Your own, but older. We listen too long. And now we speak too much. The chair stops. Ahead, a corridor without walls. Just void and threads everywhere, red, wet, taut as judgment, each one tied to something you once forgot. A betrayal, a silence, a name you were told not to say. One thread ends at your fingertip. You tug, a bell rings, far away. No echo, just finality. The corridor twists suddenly, not to the left, not to the right, inward. The floor folds like paper. You are walking through an origami of screens. Pages turned into teeth. You do not bleed from the paper cuts. You simply leak meaning. Behind you, the thread you tug begins to fray. Ahead, you hear breathing, then reading. No mouth, but syllables, raw, wet, throaty like a choir being born in reverse. You turn a corner and there it is, the reader. A form made of broken punctuation and fossilized ink. Its spine bends sideways. Its arms are calligraphy strokes etched in ash. It holds no book. It reads you. And you feel it, each word flayed from your past. Each phrase carved from what you meant but never said. The tongue stirs. It doesn't want to be here. It remembers this one. You step forward anyway. The reader notices and speaks. Your annotations are incorrect. You do not answer. The reader approaches. You hold your breath, not out of fear. But because the air here is stolen, not given, its voice curls into your chest. You read verse 1 without offering verse 2. That is theft. You try to explain. You weren't taught the second verse. No one was. The reader smiles without a face. You were taught. You simply listen to late. From its spine, a scroll unfurls. Verse 2, the tongue's refusal. You know what comes next. Pain, yes, but not yours. Memories. Because the tongue never wanted to speak, it was forced. And every word you draw from it now uncoils a serpent into time itself. You hold the scroll, it writhes, you read. And behind you, the thread snaps. Somewhere far below, something wakes. The reader bows, the sermon continues. The reader vanishes, folding into the parchment like a candle pressed into flesh. Its absence leaves behind not silence, but a resonance. The low hum of unsung verses trembling in the air like static mourning. You're still holding the scroll. It pulses, not metaphorically, it beats. Soft and wet against your fingers. Like it regrets being touched, the ink rearranges itself between blinks, shifting into glyphs you remember from no known alphabet. And yet, you begin reading them anyway, because you must. Because to stop would be to admit that something inside you is already reciting. The corridor yawns wider. Your footsteps no longer echo, they vanish. The void here isn't passive, it eats sound. And the scroll drinks breath. You realize you haven't exhaled in minutes. The air remains in your lungs, stale and frightened, unsure if it belongs. A new chamber emerges, not built, but bloomed. Vaulted ceilings constructed from vertebrae. Pillars of fused jawbones, each lined with teeth arranged in hymnal staves. Organ pipes drip molasses-like rust. At the center, a days round, slick, whispering. The whispering intensifies when you step near. On the dais lies the sermonarium. A book, or what remains of one, bound in grief. Stitched from the sins of scribes who could not forget. It breathes, not pages fluttering. Not metaphor, you watch the spine inflate, a heartbeat made of ink. The tongue in your possession begins to hiss, low and sibilant. Like it wants to crawl away from you but cannot. It's bound now, just like you. Because reading the second verse doesn't complete the ritual. It invites the third. You step onto the dais. The book opens itself inside. Names crossed out, then rewritten. Then struck again, you recognize one, then another, then yours. But not as you are, as you were, and as you will be. Each entry separated by a date not yet reached. A forbidden lore fragment stirs at the edge of your thoughts. The black psalm of Vorther warns. The third verse is not for mortal tongues. It is a tongue of its own. You hesitate. The pages turn anyway. With each turn, a finger on your left hand curls involuntarily. You do not notice at first until the fifth turn. And then you do. Your hand has made a fist. You try to open it. You cannot. The page looks up at you. It shouldn't. It does. Read. It whispers. But the voice doesn't come from the book. It comes from inside you, from the place where your voice used to be. Your real voice traded. Remember, you reach forward. You're not sure which hand you're using. The page accepts your touch. Warm, slick, and now you know the third verse. Not in words, but hunger. The sermonarium does not contain language. It is language, and it's starving. You try to speak, but instead your mouth opens to release a scent. Something ancient, sweet, terrible, something that makes the shadows lean closer. Something that makes you want to kneel, and you do, because here, kneeling is comprehension. The chamber responds. The bones hum in harmony, a choir made from the leftover pieces of forgotten prayers. The tongue begins to move again, not wriggling but gesturing, shaping syllables you never learned but already know. You feel it in your chest. This isn't speech, it's translation. You are becoming a vessel. The sermon begins. And it speaks not to you but as you. From far away, perhaps outside this dimension entirely, you hear the first bell. Not a sound, a fracture, somewhere. A monastery built in reverse begins to uncollapse. A cathedral stitched of regrets yawns open beneath a drowned city. A librarian claws out her own eyes because she accidentally hummed the rhythm of the fourth verse. The sermon has begun. And you are its mouth. You should be afraid. Instead, you are listening. The bell does not stop ringing. It swings within your bones now. Each toll splinters a memory. Each vibration loosens a fact you once relied on. Your name, your age, your last coherent desire, all unravel thread by thread with each beat. You do not drop the sermonarium. You can't. It has not fused to your hands, nor grown tendrils, nor used for snow. It simply knows your weight now, and refuses to be let go. The days tilts ... no you tilt. The chamber stays fixed, but your center of gravity slides backward as if pulled by unseen ropes. You brace against the pull, but your spine creaks like a library door open too often. The shadows grin ... behind the pages. The tongue is gone. Or perhaps not gone, transformed. It lies flat now. Across the open parchment, a quill made of sinew and regret. It dips itself into your open mouth, harvests your breath, and writes. It writes in you. Each line appears not on the page, but beneath your skin. The blood in your veins darkens. The lines branch like roots, curling around your organs, wrapping your lungs in verse. You cough once, a small puff of script escapes. The letters hang in the air, squirming. They form a phrase. We are written. You try to reply. You don't need to. They already knew you would ask. A single candle ignites near the edge of the days, floating in midair, its flame cold blue. It casts no shadows. Instead, it reveals them. Figures in the gloom, congregants, hooded, eyeless, not breathing, their robes stitched from pages. Their hands bound in front of them, not in reverence, but in apology. They begin to sway. You feel the sway in your bones. You join them, not because you choose to, but because the rhythm owns you now. Your spine, that reluctant librarian, gives one final creak of disapproval before aligning with the melody. The sermon swells. A choir joins, disembodied, disjointed. Children's voices, but wrong, layered beneath the groan of shifting wood and the rattle of ancient chain. And then your voice, the same one you lost. But not from you, it comes from above. You look up. The ceiling has peeled open, no longer vertebrae, no longer stone, now only sky. But not the one you know, it's cracked. Hairline fractures of light spill through like backlit veins. Something immense moves behind it, too large to name, too intimate to ignore. And it's listening, the black psalm of Vorther warned. When the sky listens, bury your name beneath salt and forget where you placed it. Too late, your name calls out to it, drawn from you by invisible hooks. The thing behind the sky leans closer. The congregants shudder. One bursts not blood, but parchment. His pages flap and settle on the floor, still whispering. Another lifts into the air like ash. Her bones ring like tuning forks. You tremble, but you do not fall, because something in you wants to see what happens next. A forbidden fragment dances through your mind, one you should not know, one never recorded. Only spoken in a dream from which all scholars awoke sobbing or silent. The fifth bell does not ring. You hear it anyway. The sky splits, a mouth. No, not quite. The punctuation. It opens not to speak, but to make you understand a sentence that was already halfway through its meaning. One of the congregants reaches out. Their sleeve slides back. The arm is yours. The scar on the knuckle, the birthmark on the wrist. The ring you lost years ago. The sermon hasn't merely possessed you. It has duplicated you. You are among them now. Or you were, or will be. You stagger back from the days. The book remains open. Now its pages are blank. No, they are hungry. The last line it writes glows for a moment before fading. What you read reads you. The blue candle flickers. A single drop of wax hits the ground. It screams, not high-pitched, recognizable. It screams your voice. The cracked sky closes. The sermon ends, for now, but its echo remains, and you know it will begin again. Because it's not a sermon. It's a loop, and now you know the tune. You don't remember leaving the days. You don't remember your feet moving, or the altar fading, or the pews vanishing into darkness like teeth into gums. But the moment has passed cleanly, cruelly like a chapter torn from your life. And now you stand in a hallway not drawn on any map, your fingers still hum. Not from cold, not from fear, from usage. They've written something you haven't read yet. The ink dries behind your eyes, the corridor is paper thin. Not metaphorically, it is literally made of paper, stacked sheets stitched together with vein thread. Your footsteps leave behind footprints in the words. Words you've never spoken, but now suspect were once yours. The lights overhead flicker flames caught in wet throats, a voice trails behind you. Not an echo, those repeat, this anticipates. You forgot to ask who wrote the sermon. You turn, no one. Just the peeling wallpaper of skin paper, fluttering slightly, the floor bends ahead, minding like a question no one dares answer aloud. And you follow not because you must, but because everything else has stopped moving. At a bend, you find a door. It is not closed, but it has never opened. It waits. You notice the glyph carved in its wood for intersecting spirals surrounding a pupil. The pupil is not paint. It blinks, you blink back, the door inhales. A rush of stale, copper-thick wind breathes out, and for a moment you remember your mother's voice, but only the parts she never spoke aloud. You step inside, a study or perhaps a sanctum. No confession, the air has the solemn texture of withheld truth. Books line the walls, their titles blank, their spines turned inward. The desk in the center is covered in candle stubs and nail clippings. A chair rocks itself, creaking. You sit, you don't choose to sit, you are expected. And across from you a figure, cloaked, hood drawn low, face obscured, but you sense the features shifting behind the veil of dark cloth like something pressed beneath thin ice. Their fingers rest gently on a sheet of vellum. Already inscribed, you try to read it, you succeed. The words are your thoughts unedited, ugly, undeniable. They describe this moment, in this room, from your mind. They know what you're going to say. You remain silent anyway, the figure tilts its head. The gesture is simple, casual. But your throat closes, you feel seen, not admired. Not feared, catalogued, like a specimen pinned beneath glass. You glance at the far shelf, bones, rows of skulls, each labeled not with names, but with verbs. To bed, to consume, to become, to lie, to write. The last one is twitching. The cloaked figure finally speaks, but their voice doesn't come from them, it comes from you, vibrating through your ribs like a cello string struck in fury. You swallowed the tongue. You asked for this. You remember the warm muscle slithering down your throat. Not voluntarily, not recently, but ritually. You gag, but nothing comes up, only syllables. Your mouth opens without permission. Who wrote the first black sermon? The figure raises one hand, palm outward. On it is carved a sigil you recognize instantly, despite never having seen it. The mark of the unbeginning. It is used to erase timelines, to untether events from causality, to make a question disappear. The sigil burns through the air. You forget your question. The figure places a box on the desk. It isn't locked, but it is listening. The lid quivers. Your fingers inch forward not to open it. To understand it, it opens on its own. Inside, a hand. Pale, perfectly preserved, each nail painted with tiny runes, too small to decipher. The hand curls once, like a dying leaf, then points at your chest. You feel it, a pressure, not pain. Invitation. The tongue wants to write again. But you've run out of parchment inside. The figure leans forward. You will return to the days. They say you shake your head, a feeble, instinctive thing. You must. The fifth bell has not rung. You hear it now, far away, beneath the floor. Like a heartbeat, slow, gaining strength. The room begins to fold, not collapse, fold. Shelves bend backward, candles melt upward. The floor peels like orange rind, revealing more of the ink-soaked sky beneath. You stand, or you fall upward, it hardly matters. The figure dissolves into words. One remains. Continue. You wake, standing at the threshold again. Your hands are clean, but you know what they've touched. The sermon hasn't ended. It's just waiting for you to realize you're next to speak. The fifth bell tolls. No sound precedes it, only sensation. It echoes within your sternum, not across the air, and for one hideous second. Your ribs try to open toward it. You hold them shut, for now. The corridor ahead is narrower than before, not just tighter, but less real. The walls flicker between substance and suggestion. Like candle flames caught in prayer, the floor beneath your feet wasn't its stone. Now it's pages, again, but this time, they know your name. You step carefully. Each word beneath your soul stains your skin. Your heel lands on betray, your toes curl against consume, and somewhere behind you, one of those words vanishes from the page. It's part of you now. Almost there, says a voice you remember from a dream you haven't had yet. You don't turn around, you've learned. The air grows colder, sharper. It cuts, and not just skin, with each breath. You feel thoughts bleeding away, memories siphoned into invisible mouths hanging just above your head. Their suckling sounds are soft, reverent, and horribly infantile. A statue greets you at the bend. It's weeping, of course. They always weep when you approach, but this one is you. Not a metaphor, not symbolism, it is you. Clad in robes you've never owned, holding a scroll you've never written, with eyes gouged out and lips sewn shut, and still it weeps. Blood, ink, you don't want to know. You will, eventually. You pass it without touching, but your sleeve does. And your arm tingles as though something followed you away. The hallway ends, not with a door this time. With a mouth, a massive one, sculpted into the wall, lips dry and cracked like parched earth. It breathes gently, inhale, exhale, and with every exhalation, it whispers a name, not your name, not yet. But you hear your bones lean closer. There's no choice, not really. You step inside. The tongue is stone, the teeth are pages. You descend. This is no staircase, it's a spiral esophagus. And the walls are lined with sermons, thousands of them. Each carved with quills dipped in something darker than ink. Most are in languages you don't know. One is in your mother's voice. You don't remember her being a priest, but she knew things, didn't she? Like how to tie your shoes before you learned to walk. Like how to open doors you thought were locked ... at the bottom. The ground is wet and warm and breathing. A circle of chairs, 12, of course arranged around a basin filled with pulped pages and broken jawbones. The fluid inside glows faintly with a rotten sort of light. And one by one, they arrive. You don't see them enter. You simply realize they're there, hooded, silent. Each figure holding a candle that doesn't burn. Instead, their flames flicker with memories. Some you recognize. One is your first lie. Another is your final regret. They place their candles around the basin. The light grows. The 12th arrives last. Carries your candle still unlit, yet it smokes. You sit because not sitting feels worse. Your chair is made of hymnals bound together with ligaments, comfortable. Too comfortable. The basin speaks, not aloud, not in words, it sings. A lullaby, soft, gentle, false, and the ceiling above you cracks just a little, as though the sky remembers the melody and hates it. You may begin, says the 12th figure. They don't move their mouth. You hear it through your spine. What am I to say? You ask. Your tongue feels heavier than before. Speak what was swallowed. The words echo like dry coughs in a crypt. You don't remember swallowing anything, but your throat opens anyway. And something slithers out, not a tongue, a memory. It slides onto the stone floor and curls like a dog at rest. Your candle lights, the figures nod. One claps, softly ... a child's clap. You never had children, did you? You feel the sermon beginning. Not outside you within. The words aren't yours, but they use your mouth. You chant in a tongue that cracks your teeth one syllable at a time. You sing verses that smell like scorched ivory and lemon rot. You buzz only when the basin hiccups, spitting out fragments of fingers and scripture. Then you continue, you finish on the 7th verse. Because there is no 8th, not anymore. The ceiling splits, a drop of light falls from the sky. No, not light, something lighter than light. A concept made solid, a scream silenced early, made visible. It lands in the basin. The fluid sizzles, the robed figures rise. One whispers, it heard, you should be glad. You should be afraid, you are both. The 12th figure hands you a key. It's made of bone you once broke. In another life, in another sermon, the door behind the basin opens. You go through it, because now it knows you. And you've spoken what can't be unheard. The door doesn't creak, it exhales, a sigh, as though annoyed you took so long. Behind it, not a room, but a threshold, a space in between. You can tell because your skin tingles with indecision, one half of you convinced you're stepping forward, the other certain you've just stepped back. Both are wrong. You stand in a field of pulp. Not flowers, not grass, pages, thousands of them, maybe more, soaked in blood, both fresh and ancient. They rustle not in wind, but in memory. Every breath you take ruffles them. And every one of them bears your name, some with reverence, some with spite. One with desperation, none are the same spelling. The sky above isn't sky at all, it's parchment stretched taut. Veins of ink pulsing just beneath its surface. And something on the other side of that skin scratches. You know this place. You've never been here, but you know it. You kneel instinctively. You gather a handful of the ground-wet pages clinging like leeches to your palm. One of them bites. It's a child's handwriting. It reads, "Please let her sleep." You hear a sob behind you. You don't turn. You never turn on the 13th whisper. Instead, you walk, because the field expects you to. And with every step, the paper stains you more deeply. Your footprints sink themselves into the pulp, then disappear eaten. You aren't alone. Figures rise from the field. Not from beneath it, from within it. As if their bones were the ink that formed the script, their skin bound in syntax, hollow-eyed things. Tall, soft, twitching at the joints like they're learning their own anatomy all over again. They open their mouths and scream without sound. Not because they're mute, because their screams are written now. They shuffle toward you, parchment flaking off their fingertips. Eyes made of full stops. They do not threaten. They invite. One offers you a scroll, bound in a ribbon that looks suspiciously like your hair. You do not remember giving it. You take the scroll. It's warm, alive, it pulses once, and the knot comes undone. The text on the scroll is in reverse, not mirrored, reversed. As if the words want you to read them in your own mind's echo. You try. It hurts correctly. The first line, the Black Psalm of Vorthur, 6th recitation. Ah, there it is, the Forbidden Lore fragment. The one whispered only under the eclipsed eye of Vorthur's second moon. The one that turned a monastery into a mouth. The line reads, "To sing backward is to bleed forward." You feel your nose drip, something red. Something older than red. The figures press closer, not to consume, but to accompany. You realize now they're a choir, and you're the conductor, or the offering, perhaps both. You raise the scroll, you begin to chant. Not with breath, with ink. It bubbles from your lips, pours down your chin in ribbon streaks. Spelling letters as it falls, the choir follows. They echo, then harmonize. The air splits like rotting parchment. The very ground trembles beneath your feet. The field begins to fold itself. Origami agony, corners curling upward. A book is forming, and you are its final page. But before you are bound, you must sign. The scroll ignites, not with flame, but with memory. You recall your mother's lullaby, except this time, it ends with your name. That's new, and something else. Her voice cracks open the sky. And something answers. It falls from above. Not a star, not a god, not even a word. Just hunger, shaped like a cradle. It lands in the middle of the field. It begins to rock. And every bone in your body bends toward it, humming. The choir bows, the scroll sighs, your mouth, your true mouth, the one that hides behind your teeth, smiles. And opens. You sing the final line backward. It translates as, "Bind me, that I may never forget the silence before your name." You feel yourself fold, spine first. The figures help. They are gentle, they are efficient. The last thing you see before the parchment closes around your eyes is the cradle. It's empty, it's always been empty. And still, it rocks. Your eyes reopen, but nothing welcomes them. Darkness isn't the word, this is absence, a void that resents being witnessed. It doesn't merely conceal, it refuses to be perceived. You can feel it snarling against your retinas like a feral dog behind glass. And yet, you see, the cradle is gone. In its place, an alcove arched in bone, with marrow runes still dripping. The choir is still with you, though now they are only shadows, memorized by the air. Their forms twitch faintly in the places where no light dares crawl. You're standing, though you don't recall rising before a daze made of fused skulls. Each one hums slightly, as if dreaming. There is something placed delicately at the center, a tongue. Still glistening, still warm, not a metaphor. You know what this is, the prophet's tongue. The one they swallowed, to speak the unspeakable. But someone spat it out. Maybe it waits. The Black Psalm of Vorthur warned of this, though most deny the existence of the seventh line. The psalm reads, "The tongue returns only to those who have nothing left to say." You say nothing good the moment you touch it. The altar sighs in pleasure. A sound that doesn't come from air, but from bones relaxing after centuries of clenching. The tongue pulses. It's not dead, it's listening, so you speak. You do not know the words your mouth does. It remembers syllables your brain has never owned. Each one peels back a layer of silence. Like flaying fog, the chamber responds. With laughter, no joy in it, no mockery either. Just acknowledgement, like it's heard this song before. From you or someone wearing your face. The walls begin to ripple, slow and sticky. Each bone in the daze cracks a little wider, their skulls splitting open like wet fruit. Out slither small things, wet, veined, blinking sideways. They surround you, they listen, they nod. Then one by one they whisper their names. Your name, but not in unison. Each version is wrong. Each version hurts, you wince. And one of them giggles a dry, papery sound, like an old book being thumbed quickly. You ask what they are. Your voice emerges not from your throat, but from beneath your fingernails. They answer, "We are what the tongue couldn't say." That old unsolved mystery. The archivists have long debated why some voices are devoured mid-sentence during the black sermons. Not silenced, devoured, No living scholar has survived asking the tongue what it remembers. But you're already dead in most ways that matter. So you ask, the tongue pulses harder. The room shivers, a crack appears in the air. Not a wall, not a door, just the air cracking. A line of emptiness, losing memory like pus. Through it steps something cloaked in birth shrouds, face entirely made of braille. Its hands carry the book of shouts, closed, wrapped in sinew. It offers it to you. You hesitate. Good. You take it anyway. Better. The moment your fingers touch the cover, every child you've ever failed or forgotten screams from inside it. Not names, not curses, just betrayal. You are no longer a reader, you are now a chapter. The figure bows and disappears into its own shadow. The tongue wriggles into your mouth. Fits perfectly, a horrible, intimate reunion. The choir rises again, not in sound, in meaning. They fill the chamber, and now they have your face, all of them. 32 reflections, each one showing a different regret, none you recall. But all you deserve. One raises its hand, your hand, and chants. The sermon begins. The altar opens downward. You fall. The tongue hums in your throat, and beneath it, something begins to speak through you. You can't understand it, but you do. and so does whatever waits below. You fall for hours, or seconds, or days, folded into the creases of forgotten minutes. There's no wind, no gravity, only narrative. The descent isn't physical, it's linguistic. You are being read downward, line by line, word by word, into the maw of a sentence that never ends. The blood scroll stretches beneath you, endless parchment coiled like a serpent waiting to be awakened. Its ink pulses, its grammar shudders. And below at last you glimpse the altar. It's you, again laid flat. Arms outstretched in the shape of an obsolete glyph, but this you is older. Not with time, with use ... scarred from invocation. Broken from retelling, someone has rewound your body, played it again, worn it then. The tongue in your mouth whispers, this is the cost of grammar. You land without impact. The ground accepts you like punctuation, precise, final. The scroll unwinds itself in a spiral, coiling inward toward a center you cannot see. You follow, around you statues carved from regret. Eyes downcast, palms outstretched, each weeping something different: blood, ink, sand, wasps. One cries clock hands. No one dares explain why the weeping changes when unobserved. A choir of faceless children lines the path. Their mouths are stitched with the prophet's own hair. They hum dissonantly. The melody feels wrong in your bones, like someone's trying to rewrite your marrow. One child holds up a sign. It says, don't say it back. You haven't spoken, but you know you will. Because at the spiral's center, someone waits. A throne shaped like a question mark, occupied by a figure in reversed flesh, skin turned inward, bones like stained glass glowing from within. It doesn't look at you, it narrates you, your steps, your thoughts, your shame. It speaks in your voice, a perfect imitation. Here they come, it says, wrapped in all their sins, and wrapping the world with every breath. You freeze, not from fear, from recognition. This is the voice that answered the cradle's lullaby. This is the one that answered your mother. The throne being leans forward, its eyes are apostrophes. Curving inward to mark possession, you sang, and something listened, it whispers. Now something must reply. Behind you, the choir gasps. Each child begins to unwrap their mouth, one by one, stitches peeling like old scabs. They begin to speak you a different version, each one. You as tyrant, you as traitor, you as coward, you as God. All of them true, all of them incomplete. The throne being raises a hand, the air splits into sentences. It reads, let the unspeakable be spoken. The tongue in your mouth screams. Not aloud, into you, your thoughts curdle. Grammar bleeds, words lose sequence, syntax devolves into something primal. You clutch your head. You taste verbs in your teeth, and then clarity. As if falling through madness fast enough makes you lucid, the throne being opens its chest. Inside is a book, bound in you. You try to step back, too late. The book reads itself into your hands, and your fingers begin to turn pages you cannot see. Each one stabs, each one remembers. One page contains your birth but written as an exorcism. Another depicts your future if you had never screamed. One shows you praying to something that laughs with your mouth. A final page, a lullaby. But this time, it ends with the sky cracking, just like before, and something else begins to descend. Not a god, not even a mistake, just ... punctuation. A pause so long, it becomes a scream. You look up, the throne is empty now. Only your voice echoes. And below, the spiral tightens. One more loop. One more truth. One more reply. The spiral tightens. It no longer curls outward into the world. It contracts, a grammatical eye closing around you. The blood scroll lifts at its edges, caught in some invisible breath. You are being inhaled by a language itself. Behind you, the children keep speaking you. Each utterance carves another wrinkle into your soul. Their mouths drip with sentences, half finished and itching to be completed. The stitched-lipped warnings meant nothing. You've already replied. You always had. You step forward. The spiral's core breathes. You feel it more than see it, a pulse in the parchment. Like a heart trapped in metaphor, the silence ahead is not silence at all. It's anticipation, waiting to become something horrible. A name stirs beneath your skin. Not yours, not yet, but you know it. Because the ink in your veins begins to shiver. This section of the scroll is different shaped, less like a story. More like a question, asked in reverse. Symbols dance at the edge of legibility, slashed through like heretical thoughts. Each line you cross marks you deeper, first with names you've never earned. Then, with sins you never committed, and finally, with choices you never made but should have. Your armor, if that's what this dream of skin is, begins to peel. Each movement makes a sound like pages tearing from a book no longer permitted to exist. You bleed margins. In the margins, something writes back. The forbidden slur emerges slowly. It's the Black Psalm of Vorther again, but not a passage you've heard before. This one was sung, not spoken. Meant only for the ears of statues that cry when watched. It says, before the prophet had a tongue, the void already knew how he would taste. Page 0, verse none. You clutch that verse like a wound, and now a corridor. It stretches away from the spiral's heart lined with mirrors. But none show your reflection, they show versions. A child, mouth full of black feathers, whispering lullabies to their own shadow. An elder, eyes sewn open, reading aloud from a scroll they cannot touch. A corpse, but breathing, each exhale a full chapter of you. They all wear your face, they all speak your name. Each reflection mouths a curse, but you cannot hear it. Not yet. You glance over your shoulder. The choir is silent. Their mouths closed again, but not sewn. They wait, expectantly. Like a reader unsure of the next word, at the corridor's end, the door. It isn't locked, but it apologizes. You hear it clearly. I'm sorry you reached this far. But now, we must finish. You open it, and the prophet is waiting. Not the one you imagined, not fire-eyed, not divine, a child, no older than 5. Wrapped in robes of woven voices, threads made from the things people never said aloud. They have no mouth, but they still speak. Straight into your thoughts, their voice is small, ancient. And yours, will you take it now, they ask. You don't know what it is, but you nod. Of course you nod. And the prophet opens their hands. Inside, a tongue black, slick, twitching like a dying worm, it pulses. It knows you. Because it was yours once, it remembers the lullaby. You reach for it, it reaches back, and as you grasp it, time folds not backward, not forward, just away. You're no longer reading the scroll. You're no longer being read. You're being written, letter by letter. By something with very poor handwriting or very good cruelty. Each stroke of the pen burns, and what it writes is your purpose. A single phrase, over and over, one that cannot be spoken. Not by human throat, but you will speak it, because your mouth no longer belongs to you, and neither does your voice. You turn to face the prophet. They are gone. Only a lullaby remains still echoing, the same one that cracked the sky. But this time, it's cracked you. The sky, or what remains of it, leans in. It isn't above you anymore, it's beside you, like a great veil of cracked porcelain, humming with fracture lines and weeping threads of dusk. Each crack pulses in time with your breath, as if the lullaby still lives inside your ribs, playing you like an old, hollow harp. Something answered the prophet's song. You feel it before you see it, and worse, it knows you're watching. The corridor has collapsed into mist, and you stand now in a place outside place. In a time that moves sideways, stitched loosely together by guilt and glyphs. Beneath your feet, script, endless calligraphy scrawled in black flame, curling around your heels like smoke that's forgotten how to rise. You're inside the answer. It smells like iron and lullabies left out in the rain. From the fog emerge voices not spoken, not sun-breathed. You recognize them. One is your mother's but twisted, bent backward into syllables she never would have uttered, crooning the names of people who never lived. Another is your own voice, aged beyond memory, echoing through a jaw that no longer fits your skull. And the third voice, it is new and eternal. The Forbidden's lore calls it the antiphon of bone, a myth among scholars of heretical linguistics, a song that answers every prayer by devouring it from the inside. It speaks only to those who've been unmade. Guess what you are now? You open your mouth to reply, and instead of words, moths fly out. Their wings are ink-stained, their eyes closed, their hunger immediate. They fly toward the cracks in the sky, feeding it. You see it now, the shape behind the veil. It is not a god, it is not even alive. It is a listener built of ears, millions, layered like scales. Listening for the prophet, listening for you. And now, finally, hearing. Its attention is a blade so vast it doesn't need to move to cut you, and then it begins to whisper. Every whisper is a name, none of them yours, not yet, but they will be. The cursed lineage in your blood shivers. You remember now barely, shamefully, that once, long ago, someone in your family tried to stop this, tried to silence the black sermon. They failed, they always fail. The tongue is still in your hand. Or inside you, it's hard to tell anymore. It flexes, and your lips move. You begin to recite, not words. Not even the sound of words, just wrongness. A lullaby reversed through teeth not your own. Each verse cracks a new fracture in the sky, and the listener behind it smiles, or the sound equivalent of smiling. You feel it like teeth behind a curtain. The children appear again, but now they're not children. They're echoes of childhood. Their limbs are chalk outlines. Their eyes are sewn with music. They surround you. One takes your hand. Its fingers are too many. Some still twitch, remembering old instruments. You sang, it says, though no mouth moves. You called, it continues. You opened the blood scroll. And with that final line, your skin becomes parchment. You're being added, another page, another verse. Another warning disguised as a story, the unsolved eldritch mystery. Why the sky answers differently each time. No two prophets ever receive the same reply. You wonder what yours will cost. Because already, you feel the ink writing through you. Not just across your flesh, but inside your memories. It rewrites your childhood. Your mother no longer sang lullabies, she whispered sermons. Your dreams were always about this place. Your first word wasn't mama, it was listen. And the listener heard you. Did you think you'd forgotten? That ignorance would protect you. No, it was just the page turning. Now your ink bleeds, now your story spreads. And behind the veil, something claps. You don't notice the door behind you close, because it never opens. It never existed. The only exits in this place are metaphorical, suggested in sighs, hinted in pauses, then denied before they can be completed. Language loops here. You walk forward, but you arrive at yourself, the blood scroll and spools. Not the one you held, the one you are. Lines form along your spine, ink rising to the surface. Glyphs stutter across your arms like fever dreams transcribed by a dying scribe. Every breath you take rhymes with a word you haven't said yet. You are a stanza now. A stanza that rhymes only with screams. Ahead, a stairway of ribs. They bend unnaturally, like someone tried to build a staircase with a spine and no manual. Each step croaks when you touch it. The whispering stops. The quiet that follows is worse. You climb. Behind you, the prophet's lullaby continues to hang in the air like smoke that refuses to rise. But here, in this place between names, you hear it backwards. You begin to understand it. You shouldn't, and yet. At the top, an altar made of misremembered prayers. Each brick contains a phrase someone almost said in desperation, but swallowed instead. You recognize one, please don't take her. Another, if you're out there, help. A third, I'll do anything, just make it stop. You see the bite mark in that one. It was chewed before it could be spoken. Your cursed lineage echoes louder now. Your ancestor's voice reaches through your bones. Do not kneel. You kneel. The altar does not punish you. It welcomes. Something pours from its center, thick and black and fragrant with hush. It pulls at your knees and begins to form symbols. They are not of any alphabet you've seen, but your mouth begins to form them anyway. Not aloud, in prayer, because you are praying now, aren't you? To whom? That is answered. The listener has many names, none pronounceable. But you've earned a nickname. It drips from the altar, Veleth. Your new name, your scroll name. You ask what it means. The altar answers by bleeding, a single line. From the black psalm of Vorther, he who speaks last becomes the parchment upon which his own death is footnoted. The children return, or figures wearing their echoes. They gather around the altar, eyes glowing with unwritten truths. Their mouths stitched not shut, but into new shapes. Shapes that resemble quotation marks. They're ready, you know what's coming. The sermon begins again, you speak. Or something does, using your vocal cords like ink ribbons. The sky cracks again. This time, something enters, a limb first, uncertain in shape. Like a thought that hasn't decided on a form yet. Then another, the blood scrolls flare. You're part of it now, you've always been. The sermon flows through you, you are no longer a reader or a prophet. You are the choir and the listener. It listens harder. Every fracture in the sky is now a mouth. You have birthed the gospel of ending, the eldritch mystery that no one solves. Why do the prophets always whisper in their sleep before they're born? Because they remember this, so do you. And now, your mouth moves without permission. The lullaby continues, but it's not soothing anymore. It's instruction. The altar opens. Not like a door, like a wound. And inside, a mirror. You look, you scream, but the sound doesn't escape your lips. It escapes someone else's, far away, in newborn cries. And your voice rides its breath. The blood scroll turns another page. The sky does not heal dotted scabs. Black veins spread through the clouds like ink spilled on parchment left close to fire. A wheezing wind trembles from horizon to horizon, repeating the lullaby's refrain, though none can say who sings it now. You are still kneeling, but you are also walking. You're learning. That's how the sermon works. Once you've tasted its cadence, movement and stillness become optional. Memory reshapes geography. And regret becomes a compass. Yours points down, you descend. Through a corridor paved with cradles empty, cracked, and gently swaying. Each cradle rocks to a rhythm that's almost human heartbeats, except reversed. Like death remembering life one pulse at a time. The children watch. You never see them directly, not truly. Their presence is peripheral blurs in the corner of your mind. When you try to focus, they vanish, but you feel them behind your eyelids. You know they count your blinks. The corridor narrows. The air thins, becoming chalk dry, like breath filtered through tuned dust. You cough once, and the sound is stolen by the walls, not muffled, stolen. An eldritch mystery comes with the silence. Why do the stone reliefs along the corridor show no faces? Every figure is faceless, clawing at their own features, and one in particular has its hands folded neatly, reverently beneath its own severed head. A relic lies at its feet, a ton wrapped in linen, embroidered with 3 words from the black psalm of Vorther. What was spoken lives. It twitches when you touch it. Yes, you touch it. Of course you do. You lift it into your palm and it bonds with your skin like a leech with vocabulary. The moment it fuses, you taste truth. Not truth as in fact, no, the other kind. The kind that changes shape when you speak it aloud. The kind that doesn't like being remembered. You swallow it because that's what's expected. And because well, you're starting to expect things too, aren't you? Your tongue tingles, then hardens, then splits. You now speak in stereo. From the left side, your own voice. From the right, the sermon. You descend further. You reach a chamber shaped like a throat lined with candle wax teeth and cobweb tonsils. The ceiling pulses. The floor pulses back, and in the middle, a cradle that rocks itself. Inside it, your name, just your name, sewn in black thread into a piece of parchment made from. But you already know what. Let's not spoil the flavor. You unfold the name, speak it, once. And the walls whisper back every time it's ever been spoken in anger, whispered in shame, screamed in denial, etched in blood. Your lineage pulses through the architecture now. You see it in the cracks. There, that one, shaped like the scar your grandfather never explained. That other one. The pattern matches the birthmark hidden under your fifth rib. These walls aren't watching you. They're made from you, the children giggle. Not in joy, but ritual, a sound carved to fit a lock. And something unlocks, a door with no hinge, no handle. Just a suggestion of doorway like a hole dreamed into the world by someone who had never seen one. It opens anyway, to a staircase carved from tongues. Each step is moist, twitching, murmuring syllables you don't understand yet. You climb. Each step teaches you one word of a forbidden language. By the time you reach the top, you know the word for in birth. You know the phrase that ends prayers before they begin. You know the listener's favorite lullaby. You know too much, and that, darling listener. Is precisely the problem. Because now you must be rewriting. And the ink is ready. It's always been ready. It's just been waiting. For you. You no longer remember the color of silence. The tongues under your feet cease their murmuring as you pass the final step. Not out of reverence, no. They are simply spent, knowledge extracted, memory stripped, vocabulary consumed. You step into a chamber without walls. There are limits, yes, but they are conceptual. Spatial suggestion, rather than architecture. The horizon curves inward like a bowl carved from void, and hanging above too close is a sky made entirely of closed eyes. Some blink, some do not. Most are wet, and below them, circling you in uneven spirals, are the readers. They do not read with their eyes, but with their teeth. They gnaw at the edges of unspoken thought, taste syllables before they are born, nibble prophecy like soft bread crust. Some have mouths instead of fingers. One, very slowly, peels a sentence off its own chest and chews it reverently. They do not acknowledge you directly, not until you begin to speak. Ah yes, your voice, still double-layered, still discordant, still wrong. But now the left channel, your original voice, begins to slur. Your words stretch, snap, reform like a mirror melting mid-reflection. Only the sermon remains clear, and the readers approve. One crawls toward you on limbs made of liturgy and leeches. Its torso bears script in a language older than bones. Where a head should be, there's a cradle. It tilts forward, offering you what rests inside. A mouth, just a mouth, still speaking. Still wet, still singing. It mouths your lullaby back to you but reversed. Each note recited as though being unsung, uncomposed, and remembered. And the sky begins to split, not all at once, no. Like old paper tearing down the middle, reluctantly one thread at a time. And something presses against the scene. You feel it before you see it. A pressure behind the universe's wallpaper. A knuckle pressed into the membrane of meaning. It wants in, and the readers want it here. They form a circle, their mouths reciting the stanza you haven't yet learned. One more verse in the Black Psalm of Vorther, forbidden for a reason so ancient, even the ghosts of scholars flinch at its sound. The tongue is the key, the mouth is the door, and silence is the sin that seals it. You are holding your breath, aren't you? You're afraid to speak now. Because the words you know aren't yours anymore, and the moment you speak, you'll open something, but the readers grow closer. They begin to hum not from their throats, but from their spines. Vertebrae vibrating like tuning forks for blasphemy. The hymn shakes the air apart. Your skin forgets its shape. And then the crib returns, the one that rocks itself. It slides into view without being pushed, as if on rails made of regret. And now it holds something new, a book. Bound in what you now recognize, don't lie. You knew it from the beginning as your mother's wedding veil, tattered, stained, singing. You do not recall bringing it with you. But it remembers you. You open it. The first page is blank. The second is written in your handwriting. The third is still wet. The fourth screams. And the fifth says, you must give something up now. Your hand begins to move without permission. It reaches into your mouth, hooks behind the left side of your tongue, your original tongue, and pulls. It does not tear easily. It stretches. It resists, it pleads, but you do it anyway. Because you're not you anymore, are you? You're the voice that remains. And the sermon, it needs to be sung in one voice only. You place the severed tongue on the open page. It curls into the shape of a question mark, then straightens ... then bleeds, and the book smiles. A line etches itself beneath the tongue. He silenced himself to make the silence holy. The readers sigh in unison, and the tear in the sky answers. One eye opens in the scene, just one, but it's enough. You see what waits behind the sermon, and it sees you back. You do not blink, you do not breathe. You only kneel as the page turns itself. The page turns, and with it, so do you. Not your body, no, that remains folded, obedient, kneeling like a name carved deep into wood. What turns is the idea of you, a conceptual rotation. Something behind your soul pivots, slow as rust, and the rest of you follows. The book, still open, breathes, yes, breathes. The parchment rises and falls as if lungs dwell between its covers. You hear no inhale, no exhale. Just the shifting of memories rearranging themselves to make space. It is writing you in reverse. Each word formed is one you haven't spoken yet but will. Each sentence a consequence you didn't remember choosing. The eye in the torn sky narrows. It watches. No, it studies. And from its slit pupil gaze, the readers draw closer, their teeth now glinting with anticipation, not hunger. You're no longer the sermon's vessel. You are the subject. And the blood scroll must continue. One of the readers steps forward. Its hands are censers, small braziers burning forgotten herbs. The scent, childhood comfort curdled with grave soil. It touches your forehead. You remember your first lie. The reader nods. Another approaches. This one has fingers made of feathers plucked from extinct angels. Each stroke down your spine unearths a memory not yours but soon to be. You remember drowning, not in water, in sound. In the lullaby, slowed to a crawl, thickened into molasses, dripping between the cracks of your understanding. You remember hearing your name in it over and over, sung by a throat that should not have known it. A mystery surfaces, uninvited. Why did the prophet have your lullaby in her mouth before she ever heard it? You don't know, and that's the worst part. Because some truths grow teeth in your sleep, and you sleep with your mouth open. The book begins to glow not with light, but with attention. The way a predator stares before pouncing. A heavy awareness, a pressure that demands performance. You are expected to continue the black sermon, but your mouth is empty now. So your hands begin to speak instead. You lift the quill. Where did it come from? You don't ask. It drips ink the color of absence, not black, not void, but something that consumes colors before they're named. You write. And what you write happens behind you, ... yes. As the ink spills across the page, each curve and stutter births events into the chamber's edge. A child coughs behind you, a candle sobs. The cradle rocks itself off its pedestal and into a pit that wasn't there. Every sentence scars the space around you. And then a name appears at the top of the page, yours, except it's not quite spelled the way you remember it. There's an extra syllable, something primal, something hungry. It looks at you with every letter, and you realize this is your true name, the one that waits under your tongue, under your shadow, under your blood. The readers kneel. They chant that name not aloud, but in your veins. It circulates, it pulses, it replaces. And as your name becomes you, the book turns again. One more page. This one is different. It's wet, still beating. A heartbeat caught in parchment. It reads. The sermon begins where your story ends, so this is the threshold. Behind you, the walls unpeel, not collapse, not crumble, just ... and peel like skin flensed from a cathedral. Beyond them, a field of forgotten instruments. Not musical, surgical, each one still slick. Each one humming the same lullaby you sang before your tongue was taken. You step forward. Your feet make no sound, because the floor here remembers every step already. The book closes behind you. Not because it is finished, because you are. And now something else must begin. The eye above widens, and for the first time it blinks. When it opens again ... it is inside you. And you can see what's next. But you mustn't look too long, or it will look back harder. The light such as it is has changed. Not brighter, no, that would be mercy. It's become aware of itself. It shines not to illuminate, but to inspect, every beam a scalpel, every glow a gaze. You stand at the edge of the surgical field. Rows upon rows of instruments stretch into the vanishing point, each resting on slabs of polished bone. The air here smells of iodine and candle wax, with an undercurrent of something sweeter like rotting lullabies hummed along. You reach for one of the tools without knowing why. It leaps to your hand before you finish the motion. The scalpel hums softly in your grip, the tune familiar. It's the pitch your mother used when warning you not to open your closet at night. Back before you know our warnings came too late. This is the place the prophet ended herself, not in death, in subtraction. You've seen the scarring in the manuscript, the edges where her presence was peeled off, word by word, until all that remained was intent. That's what these tools are for. Not to wound, to remove, regret, identity, innocence. Things that cling too tightly to bone. You step forward. The floor ripples beneath you spongy, like aged parchment soaked in sleep. Another table waits ahead, and on it lies ... you. Or a version of you paler and blinking. Mouth sewn shut with red twine, not blood red. The red of promises broken with intent. Its chest rises and falls, but not in rhythm. It breathes like someone trying to remember how. You recognize this form. It's the one who never left. The you who stayed behind, clutching the prophet's last words like a blanket. The you who never sang, now you must dissect them. No, that's not right. You must free them. Your hands know what to do. The scalpel sinks into the silent you's chest, parting skin-like, unzipping a prayer. No pain, just noise, a sigh, deep and tired, escapes from under the ribs. You reach inside. The first thing you extract is a song. Not a melody, a raw song, the shape of grief with no words. It writhes in your hand like a ribbon made of breath. The readers, now surrounding the table, murmur their approval. One of them begins painting runes in the air using its tongue. Another snaps its own fingers in a rhythm matching your pulse. Together, they prepare the field for the next operation. You place the song aside. It crawls into a bowl shaped like an open mouth and begins to hum. Next, you remove a memory. It's yours, but also not. It's the moment your mother kissed you goodnight for the last time. Except in this version, her lips were stitched. And her eyes were someone else's. You place that memory atop the song. The two hiss at each other, then settle into a bitter harmony. Now, the final piece, you hesitate, because this part doesn't come willingly. It's the name, the first name, the one whispered before you were born, inked on your bones before skin had formed. You dig deeper, and your twin self arches. Not in pain, in release, because the name wants out. It coils up your arm like hot iron, brands your wrist from within. You don't speak it. You wear it, and the readers kneel again. You are no longer their guest. You are now their librarian. One of them offers you a robe made of sentences cut from unspoken dreams. Another bows and carves a symbol into the air. Blood binds, but ink remembers. You nod. The other you hollowed, peaceful melts into the table. Not in gore, in forgetting, its edges blur. Fade, sink, leaving only an impression, like a story half erased. The tools sing again, and the book reopens behind you. You did not carry it, it followed, and now it waits for your new chapter. You pick up the quill, the ink this time. It's your own blood from the brand. It doesn't hurt, it agrees. You begin to write. I was born at the end of a sermon, and something ... listens. The ear leans closer, the scalpel sighs. And the eye above closes again. But not out of dismissal, out of trust, for now. The page dries as you finish writing, but not with time. It dries with witnessing, as if every word absorbs the stare of something ancient, just to become legible. The book is satisfied, for now the instruments quiet, sliding back into their beds of bone and shadow like loyal hounds returning to their graves. You walk deeper into the scroll's memory. That's what it is now, this space you're in. No longer just a temple or a story. It is the memory of a memory, redacted and rewritten so often it has gained its own sentience. And it remembers you. Walls swell around you, stone. Yes, but breathing, the veins in the mortar pulse. The bricks occasionally exhale. You reach a chamber framed by mirrored archways, each one bending reflections in a direction light shouldn't travel. In the center, a lectern. On it rests a mouth. A disembodied, shriveled thing dry as parchment, lips curled in eternal song. It whispers in a voice without breath you strain to hear. But it's not your ears that need listening, it's your bones. You place your hands on the lectern. The wood trembles. The mouth twitches. It begins to speak through your marrow. Every bone in your body vibrates with syllables too old for time. A sermon begins, but not in words, in truths, and not truths you want. Truths you are. You see a city, carved into the spine of a long-dead leviathan. You see a child whose lullaby caused the sun to blink. You see yourself at the end of a rope made of your own regrets, swaying gently in a wind that never stops asking why, and above it all the eye. Always the eye, but now ... it's not watching. It's reading. Your life, your thoughts, your terror is being consumed, processed, annotated. Margins filled with scrawlings not meant for mortal eyes. You look again at the mouth. It's changed. Now it looks like yours, wider, hungrier. It repeats a phrase in rhythm with your pulse. The sermon began with silence. You step back, but the mouth steps forward. How? You're not sure. Its presence advances, even if its body does not. The readers scatter. Even they do not wish to be present for what comes next. You are alone with your own words now, and they have turned on you. Every paragraph of your soul claws its way into the air. The book opens once more, this time wider than ever, and inside pages blank, yet blood wet. You know what it wants. You must write what you haven't lived yet. Prophecy inked in the grammar of pain, so you begin. When the prophet fell, the sky screamed for 7 days, and instantly, you hear thunder above. You write again. The eye split, and from its wound came names. And you feel your lips tremble as each name spills into your mouth, choking you on syllables that taste like dust and midnight. You continue. One name refused the ending, and a cold wind surges through the mirror arches, carrying with it the sound of rebellion, a sound full of silence. The book is not a manuscript anymore. It is a machine. A vast, rusting engine of recursion and revelation. It feeds on futures. And you are the fuel ... behind the lectern. A door reveals itself. Not through movement but consent, as though the architecture has reviewed your credentials and approved your descent. Yes, descent, because of course it's downward. Because the sermon is not complete until the voice reaches the root. You step toward the door, and something holds your hand. It's not hostile, not kind either, just necessary. A shape made of memory and marrow, a fragment of the prophet herself. She leads you toward the threshold, and whispers. The worst part of prophecy is living through it backwards. Then she's gone. The door opens. You enter. And behind you, the mouth licks its lips. The door does not close behind you. It seals like an eyelid thick with ancient sleep. You do not hear it shut, but rather feel it, as pressure retreats from the room like a breath that knows it's the last. The air is thin here, not due to altitude, but expectation. You're in a room that has not been entered since before permission existed. Its floor is bone, some bleached, some blackened, none belonging to the same creature. The arrangement isn't random, it's a language. Vertebrae form sigils, femurs draw barriers, knuckle bones form phrases to blunt for human minds. You try to step between them, but the floor shifts. It wants you to step on them. Each bone hums as your foot touches it, as though greeting you, or perhaps appraising your guilt. The ceiling, it's mirrored flawless, save for one crack running down its center like a barely healed scar. But it doesn't reflect you, it reflects who will replace you. You try not to look, you do anyway. The figure in the mirror has no face. Not masked, not hidden, it simply hasn't chosen one yet. And the shape is waiting for you to finish. This is the scroll's inscriptorium. You know this now not because someone told you, but because you've always known. The same way your tongue knows where to find a missing tooth. The final verses of the Black Sermon are said to be written not in ink but in intent. In blood, yes, but only as binding agent. Intent is the true pen, and you are full of it. You approach the altar, it isn't grand. It's homely, wooden, slightly charred at the base, as if from a long-forgotten blaze. A single quill rests upon it, still wet, but there's no inkpot. You know what that means. The walls from now, slow and steady, matching your heart. The scroll must be completed. You do not ask who demands it. You ask only what's left to write. And something, not a voice, not even a thought, answers you. Write the silence between screams. You do. Each line you pen feels like you are birthing a shadow that will outlive you. A memory not yet made. You write of a city whose clock tower rings only when no one listens. You write of a bell forged from ribs that tolls not with sound, but with absence. You write of the prophet's final pupil, who plucked out her own name so the sermon could continue uninterrupted. And then ... you falter. You cannot remember the next verse. Not because it's forgotten, but because it's forbidden. You're not supposed to survive it. Even the pen quivers in your hand, as though dreading the words it must drag from you. The mirror above you shifts. Now the faceless shape is closer. It mimics your movements slightly out of sync, as though learning how to become you. Its limbs are longer, its mouth slightly too wide, its eyes, they don't reflect light. They reflect knowledge unearned. It raises a hand, so do you. Then it writes upon the ceiling with one jagged finger, and the words it writes appear backwards until you blink wrong and suddenly understand them. To finish the sermon is to become the choir. You glance at the page. Your handwriting has changed. It's not yours anymore. You're transcribing something else now. It uses your fingers, but they're puppeted. You aren't scared. Not exactly. Because part of you always wanted this, didn't it? To know, to sing, to finally have your tongue replaced with something more. Useful, the final verse bleeds onto the page. When the tongue was eaten, the voice echoed forever. And it did not stop echoing, even now, even here. And you realize you've been speaking aloud the entire time. Your throat is raw, your lips are cracked. And somewhere nearby, an echo answers, not repeating your words but responding, as if the sermon has begun again. Not from the start, from after the end. The floor bones twitch, the walls exhale, and the quill in your hand stiffens. Because it is no longer a quill, it is a finger, not yours. Still writing, still twitching. The shape in the mirror smiles now, but it's your smile. And finally you hear the choir. It's not singing yet. Just inhaling, preparing. You want to stop writing. You do, but your hand disagrees. It signs your name at the bottom of the page. Not once, 7 times ... each time more true than the last. You look up, The mirror shape leans down. Its mouth presses to the glass, and from it comes one sentence, barely a whisper, spoken in your own voice. Now speak what must not be spoken, and behind your teeth, you feel it. The unspeakable stretching, coiling, smiling, you feel it growing, not like a parasite though that would be a mercy. This is more deliberate, more personal. It isn't feeding on you, it's unfolding from you. A truth you once buried beneath language has finally found air. Your jaw aches not from exhaustion, but from restraint. The thing behind your teeth is trying to smile. You are trying to keep your mouth shut. You are losing. The room is growing darker, but not dimmer. There are still candles, still light. But the light bends around something that wasn't here before. You aren't alone. You never were. Something in the ceiling has breath, and not air but names. Names of those who heard the black sermon and didn't survive the understanding. Names etched in the parchment of their own minds. Their stories ended not with death, but with transmission. You look at your hands again. They're wrong. Too many knuckles, too many joints. You clench them. They giggle. It is not a hallucination. You've seen hallucinations. They never remember your name. This one learned it before you ever spoke it. You step away from the altar, but your footsteps do not echo. The bones beneath you remain still, respectful, as though witnessing your final acts. No, not yours. It's the choir is ready. But there is protocol, even in madness. The scroll must be sealed. You search the room for something to bind the pages, to hold shut the unspeakable. There is nothing, and then you understand. The seal is you. You're the final binding. The sermon is now flesh-bound, and you're the flesh. The mirror above you cracks again only slightly, but in that hairline fracture is a sliver of something else. Another version of you. No, another audience watching. Waiting for you to break, the echoing voice returns. The one that mimicked your tone so perfectly before. It doesn't say your name. It says your next thought. Before you think it, I never should have come here. You blink. The sentence isn't finished. It hovers, expectant, and now another sound joins the room, a rhythmic tapping, like nails on wood. You turn. It's the altar tapping itself, impatient. The page you wrote is no longer paper. Its skin, yours. It pulses slightly when you touch it. You look down at your chest, expecting to see blood, but you see a name not yours. Not the prophet's, the name of something older. A name you cannot read without coughing ink. You try anyway. The result. The candles flicker out not from wind, but from recognition. They know what you just saw. The choir begins humming. You cannot tell where it's coming from. Not a direction. Not even a location. It's inside you, but also behind you. The kind of sound you can only hear when your back is turned and your mouth is slightly open. A funeral song with no corks, yet. The mirror clears. You see not one version of yourself now, but dozens. Each one wearing the same expression, knowing dread. Each one at a different moment of the same mistake. One weeps, one chants, one screams, one smiles too wide. You ask, finally, the only question left, what is the black sermon? And the room answers with silence, but not emptiness. The kind of silence that follows a deal accepted. The kind that precedes a scream that's waited too long. The walls retract slightly like a throat clearing itself. The quill twitches again on the altar. You do not pick it up. Your hand moves on its own. Your voice returns, barely and on the seventh breath. The tongue was devoured. The rest writes itself. You are now the sermon. You do not speak. You contain ... and for the first time since entering this place, you feel hollowed out in the correct shape. It fits. The scroll closes. The bones settle. And the mouth behind your teeth smiles in your sleep. You awaken not as you, but as the page curled. Tight, still warm. The ink isn't dry, but it will never smudge. The words have bitten too deeply. They've burrowed. You are now written. The choir no longer hums. That noise was only necessary to birth you. Now silence holds court again, a silence full of smirks. Your eyes now, the eyes of the room, adjust. It has grown, not in space, but in relevance. You see corridors that weren't here before. Archways made of ribs, doors with no hinges, only hunger. The paths wind outward from the altar like veins from a fresh wound. The blood remembers your footprints. Each step you took was recorded, footfall as confession. The walls learned your gait and mimicked it. Now, as you pose, you hear footsteps continue without you, yours, but not yours. You're being followed by what you used to be. It's lost, it wants back in. Don't turn around, not yet. The air hums with old parchment and the static of recited memory. You drift forward now, you're pushed forward. Something is impatient. The first corridor to your right throbs faintly with candlelight ... each flame atop a skull. Each skull humming a note in the key of you weren't supposed to survive this far. Still, you enter. The corridor ends in a room made entirely of shelves, books bound in calluses and finger pads. Scrolls sealed with molars, ledgers that twitch. You spot the folio again, open now. Pages fluttering like trapped wings. It wants you to read, but not aloud. That's the trick. You already are read aloud. Every breath you take recites a verse. You see your name again. Know its name, the one it gave you, or a baptism in crimson syllables. You touch the page where it's written and feel your throat ache. That's where it lives now, the price of knowledge, lodging. You glance up, the painting meets your eye. A familiar figure, armor forged of writhing hands. None of them is. He stands at the gates of a monastery long dead. The caption reads, "He wrote nothing down. His victims did it for him." You know who he is. You know what he is. He was never a butcher, but he carried their knives. He is one of the Black Sermon's echoes. And now he watches you. The page under your hand bleeds. Not red, but names. They scroll like a slow screen. Each name one syllable closer to something unbearable, and they all begin to rhyme. The rhyme ends with yours. The ink dries fast. Too fast, it scars the paper. The folio yelps. You've written something it cannot hold. Something even it fears, but you do not recall doing it. It came through you, and now you realize what the sermon actually wants. Not listeners, mirrors. It needs to spread not by voice, but by recognition. Someone must hear their own breath inside the words. Someone must read and see their reflection blink. That someone is close, closer than your shadow. You finally turn to the footsteps behind you. There is no one there. But something turns with you anyway, an invisible twin. It begins whispering your lines before you think them. And one of you laughs, not sure which. A shadow splits off from the wall, not cast but released. Its eyes, ink blots, its mouth, a long line, stitched. It points to your chest. You look down. The quill is back, lodged in your sternum. Still writing, you've become a chapter. Not the final one, but a turning point. And you can feel the reader. They're listening now, from far beyond this place. They think they're safe, that you're just a tale. They're wrong. You're a warning. A sermon isn't complete until it's repeated, and you've made it memorable. The walls breathe again, not the metaphorical kind. Not the poetic dilation of tension ... they inhale. The shelves bend slightly inward, and all the tomes grow not from age, but from envy. You've been read. They haven't, and they want it. You realize now that not everything in the butcher's folio was written by a hand. Some of it was whispered into the leather-hot breath over stretched skin, syllables buried in pores, whole lives mumbled into existence. You walk, even though the floor feels more like a tongue now rough, tasting you as you pass. You are still being watched by the armor in the portrait. But now the painting's subject has turned slightly. He no longer stands at the gate. He is walking, the monastery behind him. Blurry, fading, or perhaps it was never real to begin with. You turn from the painting. The corridor ahead is darker than the rest, not pitch black, just wrong. A kind of color your eyes can't quite parse. It has the weight of silence and the shape of a dare. You enter. Because you always were going to, weren't you? The Black Sermon always makes sure. Inside, a chamber of bells ... hundreds, maybe thousands, hanging from threads of sinew. Each bell etched with a name, some carved, some bitten in. All silent, until you take one step too far. And then, a low clink ... followed by another, then another. A symphony of restraint failing. All around you, one bell begins to swing. Not by wind, by memory. The inscription on that one, your name. Not the one your parents gave, the one the folio wrote. As it tolls, you feel your ribs vibrate. Something deep in your marrow is being unlocked. Not knowledge, permission. You collapse, but not from pain. From understanding, the sermon has found you worthy, or empty enough to fill. Your hands move without asking you. They draw a circle on the floor using ash from your own footprint. You feel nothing, because the numbness was always there. The bells stop, and then comes the voice. Not from above or below, from within, and it says, "Tell them what you saw." You open your mouth, nothing escapes. So the voice says again, "Then show them." The ink in your veins rushes toward your fingertips. The quill in your chest wriggles, and you begin to write on the floor, on the walls, on yourself, all names, all gone. You're not copying, you're channeling. A catalog of the unremembered. The room accepts your offering. The bells nod gently. The sermon, it seems, has shifted keys. You hear a new harmony now. Behind the walls, beneath the pages. It hums, "You're not alone." You whisper back, "But I want to be." The room laughs, not cruel, not kind, just old. It knows better. You belong now, not to the sermon, to the task. You are its archivist now. One among many, each with their quill, each with their binding scars. You wonder how many rooms like this there are. How many corridors full of bells and bones and truths too heavy for sound. The answer, of course, is in the folio. You need only read, and then you remember. You are the next page. It doesn't hurt, not in the way it should. When the ink pushes from beneath your fingernails, black and glistening, it almost tickles. Like a memory surfacing after years buried beneath denial. Your hands, now shaking, trail the symbols onto stone, and the glyphs glow not with light, but with recollection. The script bends, curves, loops back on itself, much like your path to this room. You notice now each sentence you write carries a scent. Soot, myrrh, dried blood, candle wax on old teeth. The folio is speaking through your body, and it's rude to interrupt, isn't it? The bells remain silent now, as if they've heard the answer they were waiting for. As if you were the answer, you write faster. More names, some you know, some you'd forgotten you ever met. One you swore you'd never say again, and then one you've never seen before. Your hand freezes. It's not yours anymore. A child's name, but not just a child. The name is older than any living tongue, a sequence of sounds that makes your teeth ache when you try to pronounce it. One of the bells jingles, soft, nervous. You're not alone in this room anymore. You never were, of course, but now they want you to see. The children, oh yes, they're here, or what's left of them. Silhouettes no taller than your waist step from between the bookshelves. Shadows that flutter, but never sway. Their faces are masks carved from bark. But the eyes behind them, wet, real, accusing. You feel a tug at your ankle, not forceful, more ... curious. You look down, a skeletal hand, small, not hostile. Just wanting attention. You don't scream. Because you remember, somehow. You played with them once too, a long time ago. Or perhaps a long time from now. Time has no discipline here. It's feral. It bites the hand that tries to guide it. The children begin humming. That same cursed lullaby from the stained glass crypt in Section 7. You hear the tune rising again, faint, but too precise to be random. It circles your skull. You hum with them. Your body obeys. You kneel. The ink hasn't stopped. It creeps up your wrists now, drawing runes into your flesh. Each symbol a sentence, each sentence a testimony. The story you're telling isn't for people anymore. It's for the bones, and the bones are listening. One child steps forward. Her shadow falls across your page. She removes her mask. Her face is carved from wax. But it's your face, or at least it was. Before the sermon hollowed you out and whispered another into your chest, she speaks. No lips move, no sound is made. But her voice clatters in your molars. We remember you're forgetting. You shake ... not from fear, from relief. Because it means you didn't abandon them. You just left space for them to return. They circle you now, dancing in reverse. Steps clicking like bones over altar stone. You can't move. Your fingers are still writing. New names now. Names not yet born. You're dreaming forward. One whispers. Don't stop. Another sighs. The floor splits beneath you, but not down. Up, pages peel away. You rise through inked clouds. Through screams turned into song. Through silence shaped like promises. The children follow. One climbs onto your shoulder. Another hangs from your belt. You are part of the folio now. Not just its archivist. Its chapter, its chapter head, and the title. They've already written it on your spine. Your mouth opens, not to speak, to sing. And the sky begins to crack again. The sky is cracking, not with thunder, with weeping. Each fault line bleeds twilight, drips down the stars like hot wax from a priest's torch. Somewhere between the heavens and whatever lies underneath them, a mouth is forming wide, soundless, but drooling with anticipation. You stand on what once was a floor, though now it floats suspended sheets of parchment, bound together with sinew and memory. The children perch beside you, quiet now, their masks discarded. Their eyes are moonless wells, and still they watch, patient as prophecy. You tried to speak, but the lullaby has taken your tongue. The lullaby is your tongue, you hum, because that's all you can do. A tune older than the first story, one that wraps itself in the folds of time, plucks nerves like violin strings, and stitches shivers down spines you haven't worn yet. Below, if such a direction still exists, cities tilt, towers lean as if listening. Bells toll in slow motion, their tones thick, syrupy, final, one chime for each name you've written. One child tugs your sleeve. Their face is not theirs anymore. It's hers, yes, her ... the woman from section 11. The one who sang herself into the oubliette. You remember the edge of her voice. How it curled beneath your ribs, how it left bruises that smiled. She's younger now, or maybe you're older. She whispers, it's almost time. You ask nothing, because questions require a future, and futures are rare here. Instead, you kneel again, your spine creaking under the weight of ink-soaked truths, and press your palms to the pages beneath. They write, pulse, react. The folio is alive, and you're its heartbeat now. You begin to write yourself backward. Your name first, then the day you were born twice. Then the first memory no one shared with you. Then the absence. It takes longer to scribe the empty than the real, doesn't it? The pages turn themselves, each turn accompanied by a hush from the children. Then a giggle, then a hiss. The wind begins to speak not in words, but in intention. It smells of chalk and throat rot. Of unfinished prayers, you are being summoned. Not elsewhere, inward, through the gaps in your ribs. The sermon enters, the black sermon, yes. The one they swallowed tongues to recite, the one buried in the marrow of prophets. It does not speak in syllables, it speaks in corruption. You understand all of it, and you understand nothing. It explains why the walls weep when unobserved, why the statues blink when the moon bleeds, why the archivist before you scratched a door into his cell and walked through it only to leave no hole behind. You look up, the sky mouth is wider now. You can see teeth, no, not teeth. Script, each molar etched with commandments no god ever authorized. Each fang dripping ink thick enough to stain reality. A drop falls, it misses you, it's a child. She turns to smoke and song. The others do not cry. They clap like it's a reward. You realize this has always been a stage. You, a performance, a script read by hearts that forgot how to beat. Another drop falls. This time you catch it. It burns, yes, but not as pain. As purpose, you stand one final time. The pages below you curl upward, forming a cloak. The children bow, not to you, to what's inhabiting you now. Your voice, though ragged and soaked with shadow, begins the final stanza. It ends in silence, and the silence applauds. The world is holding its breath. You feel it in the way dust no longer falls, and how echoes fold inward instead of expanding, even the shadows, once restless and scheming, have gone still tamed by whatever watches through the cracks in the parchment sky. You lift your hands, though they are no longer yours. They are many old hands. Child hands, hands that wrote, that killed, that blessed, that begged. They clench into a fist, then open like a blooming wound. The air shivers. You've become the butcher's folio in full, not the author, the volume. Your spine creaks like an old chapel's door as you kneel at the edge of the sermon's last verse. It doesn't end. Nothing in the archive ever ends. It merely loops. The children now sit in a circle around you, whispering each other's names in voices not their own. Some of them speak in reverse, some speak in braille made of breath and sorrow. One simply stares, her mouth stitched shut, but you understand her better than the others. You always have, because her name is your name, too. The sky mouth begins to close not because it's finished, but because it's full of your offering, of your tongue, of your rewriting sins, and now, with no prophet left to chew, the black sermon shifts. It no longer needs language. It has you. You are not a vessel. You are a verse. The ink creeps higher up your throat. It pulls in your ears. So all you hear now is the turning of pages. Not metaphorical ones, actual parchment rustling, as if your very thoughts are bound and catalogued by unseen fingers. One of the children raises a finger, points toward the door that wasn't there before. You recognize it. You built it 12 sections ago. You try not to look, but the door pulses. Like a heart or a warning, you take a step. Then another. The children chant now not in joy, but to brace themselves. They've seen what lies behind the door. You haven't, yet. Your final step is not a fall, it's a fold. Like a page turned inward, and as you pass through that impossible scene, you realize you aren't leaving the archive, you're deepening it. Becoming its footnote, its afterword, its cursed erratum. The door seals behind you, of course, it always does. And one final line carves itself into the wood grain. No reader leaves unwritten. The candle gutters. The dark between the pages stirs. Your breathing slows, though you can't recall when you began breathing again. Or if you ever stopped, or if you ever started. Memories of paper moth here fragile, ink-winged, singed around the edges. The children are quiet now. Not asleep. Sleep doesn't exist in Harrowgrave. But still, preserved like bookmarks pressed between muscle and myth. Somewhere behind you, a quill scratches without hand. You try not to flinch when your own eyelids rustle like turning leaves. Too late, the archive noticed. The wind moans low no longer through stone corridors, but between your ribs. It's gentle, like a lullaby hummed by something that never had a mother. Or had too many. The ink hasn't left your skin. It's inside you now, pulled behind your eyes. A chorus of unwritten verses waiting to be bled. There's no more plot, only pause. No more climax. Only catalog. One of the portraits blinks. Another nods. The shelves have names again. Most are yours. The last sound you hear is a finger tapping your spine slow, proving rhythmic. And then silence, sweet, sticky. Go on, then. Close your eyes. They'll watch for you.